Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. G.K. Kapoor, former professor, IMI, New Delhi. I have been recording a series of talks on contract law in India, and I had finished recordings up to the contracts in general. That is up to Section 75 of the Indian Contract Act. Now we are going to take up what are particularly called as special contracts. And the first in the list that I am taking up for today's talk is the contracts of indemnity and guarantee. Let's start with the contract of indemnity. Section 124 of the Indian Contract Act defines the contract of indemnity. But before I give you the definition, let me explain you the concept of indemnity with the help of a simple illustration. Supposing you are a student of a management institute and you have to pay the next installment of the fees. It is demanded that you should pay your fee by a bank draft drawn in favor of the director of the institute, payable at New Delhi. Now, if you are living in NCR region, you will go to the bank for obtaining the bank draft, but the bank will give you what is technically called as the pay order, because here it is being drawn upon the same branch of the bank. That is, the drawer branch and the drawee branch are the same. So it is technically known as the banker's check or a pay order. But if you are living in any other city or in any other state, say for that matter, then in that particular case, you will be given by the bank a bank draft, which will be drawn in favor of the director of the institute, payable at New Delhi. Now, let's assume that you are a casual kind of character. You obtained that pay order or the bank draft, as the case may be, and you have put it in the file or the register or the copy that you carry to the classroom. Now your classes are being held on the first or the second floor and you have to climb up these stairs. So while climbing up the stairs, you are also moving the notebook that you are carrying, and unnoticed you drop that pay order or the bank draft. During the break, you rush to deposit the bank draft, to deposit your fees, and today is the last date. If you do not deposit today, your name might be cancelled. When you go to the counter of the bank, you frantically search for the draft or the pay order, and it's not there. You go back the entire route you had taken while coming from the bank to the institute. You don't find bank draft anywhere. Now, since today is the last date for payment of the fees, you immediately rush to the bank and meet the bank manager. You want a duplicate bank draft to be issued. Do you think the bank will oblige? Answer certainly is no. The bank, after having issued the draft or the pay order, now let us use the two terms as interchangeably, pay order and the bank draft. So bank, after having issued the same, has no legal relationship left with you anymore. Now there is a direct relationship between the bank and the institute, the director of your institute, that is the pay of the draft. So cannot, you cannot accept that if you have the draft with you, you can seek the cancellation of that draft. But draft being not with you, you are not a party that the bank will recognize anymore so far as that draft is concerned. In any case, you plead with the bank manager that it's a question of your life, your career. Today is the last date, and you request frantically to issue another draft. Let's assume the bank manager is convinced that you have not paid that draft already and you are wanting to get the draft once again. The first thing the bank manager will do is ask you to sign an indemnity bond, whereby you agree to compensate the bank for any loss that may be caused to the bank, either because of your conduct or because of conduct of any other person. Supposing you had to pay 2 months fees, or you had to pay actually 2 installments, having already deposited one, now you are trying to play fraud on the bank and you obtain a second one, go and deposit the second one also. Bank cannot refuse the payment of both the drafts. So bank has been put to loss because of your conduct. So you are promising to compensate the bank. Likewise, while you had dropped that draft on the stairs, somebody walking after you picked up the draft, had also to deposit his or her fee, immediately rushes to the counter and deposits that particular bank draft. Now the bank has been put to loss because of conduct of some other party. So you have to compensate for the same. Let us now look to the definition given in section 124. You will find that section 124 defines the term indemnity in exactly the similar words that I have explained to you. It says a contract of indemnity is a contract whereby one party promises to save the other from loss caused to him by the conduct of the promisor himself or by the conduct of any other person. You have signed the indemnity bond, so you are the promisor. So if loss has been occasioned because of either your conduct or by the conduct of any other person, you ought to compensate it, and that is called the contract of indemnity. But in a very famous case of Gajanan Moreshwar versus Moreshwar Madan, the learned judge held that the definition of indemnity is, as given in section 124, is very restrictive, because it restricts the source of the loss to the conduct of the promisor or any other person. What if the loss has been occasioned by accident? What if the loss is occasioned by the neglect of the promisee? So in such situations, should the indemnity be not applicable? You know, if that were to be so, the learned judge said that if that were to be so, a large number of contracts of insurance, accident insurance, now they will be knocked out of the contract of indemnity. You know, contracts of insurance are held as valid. Why? Because they are considered as contracts of indemnity. Otherwise, a contract of insurance is like a wagering transaction. It is like a bet. Come on, bet. Your car will not meet with an accident. And you say, no, I am feared that it might meet with an accident. And there may be a major loss also. The insurance company is saying, no, if it happens, we shall compensate you. All right, you give us so much of premium. So it is like betting, say 1:100 or any proportion like that. So it will become a betting transaction. And therefore, it will be a wager and invalid and illegal in Maharashtra and Gujarat. But it is not the amount of insurance, the amount of, sum insured which is payable to you. It is the amount of the loss which is given to you in the event of the accident. So if the car meets with the accident and the sum insured was, let's say, 5 lakhs of rupees, but the damage is only 50,000. So insurance company will reimburse you with 50,000 rupees only and will not pay you 5 lakhs. So these being contracts of indemnity. But if they fell out of the very definition, where, say, supposing the loss is caused by accident or by an act of God, the car is parked under a tree and the tree falls on that car. Lightning strikes the car and car is damaged. Or even maybe while driving the car, you find a speeding truck coming from the opposite direction, a wrong side. And in the nervousness, instead of pressing upon the brakes, you press upon the accelerator. And there is a head-on collision resulting in a major loss to the car. Thank God you are safe, but the car has been badly damaged. Now here, who is the promisor in case of contract of insurance? The promisor is the insurance company. Has the loss been caused by the conduct of the insurance company? Has the loss been caused by the conduct of any other person? It is your neglect. It is your wrongdoing. Still, the courts have held that the insurance company should compensate. Now, this decision that insurance company should compensate will actually be based on the observations of that Gajanan Mureshwar Modan's case. No, it is the neglect of the promisee that the loss has been caused. So the learned court said that Section 124 is a poorly drafted section. Law would not have intended to exclude such transactions. And therefore, in India, we shall follow the definition of indemnity as it prevails in England. And in England, there is no restriction in terms of the source of the loss. There is a promise to save another harmless from a loss that may be occasioned as a result of a transaction entered into at the desire of the promisor. So we shall and we have actually been following the same law in India so far as indemnity is concerned. Now, one more aspect in indemnity that we should be talking about is, just let me share the screen with you. Why it is not opening? And that is the commencement of the indemnifier's liability. What is the point of time when the liability of the indemnifier begins? Diverse views have been expressed by the courts, and these views can be divided into earlier view and the later or now the present view. According to the earlier view, indemnifier, that is the promisor, does not become liable until the indemnified, that is the promisee, has incurred an actual loss. Say, for instance, in case of insurance of a car, the car has met with the accident, resulting in a damage, resulting in a loss. According to this view, until and unless the repairs have been done, the amount of loss has actually been incurred by the party. One cannot seek any compensation from the insurance company. So that means indemnity, as per this view, will be in the nature of reimbursement of the expenses as per the terms and conditions of the insurance policy. But in the later views, the courts felt that indemnity will be of a very little help and maybe of no help in certain cases if this view was adopted. Say, for instance, if the loss or damage is a small loss or damage, let's say the damage is just 10,000 rupees. It will probably make no difference whether the insured spends the money first or the insurance company gives him the money first. But what about a situation where the loss is, say, supposing 2 lakhs of rupees? Now insured must first spend 2 lakhs of rupees and then claim reimbursement from the insurance company. And also, if the damage is so severe, naturally repairs will also take maybe quite some time, maybe let's say a week. So unless he can arrange 2 lakhs of rupees for, not only 1 week period, but it is not that the claim will be cleared immediately on the day of submission. The insurance company will also take its own time, let's say 10 to 15 days. So unless a person can arrange for that much amount of money for say 20, 25 days, that means he cannot get the car repaired and be in a serviceable condition. It should remain as it is. Of what use the insurance policy is, the courts felt. And therefore, the court held that the purpose of indemnity is that the indemnified, that is the promisee, should be placed in the position to meet the amount of the loss. It should not be a mere reimbursement of the loss, but one should be placed in a position to meet the amount of the loss. So that is the present position. Of course, the insurance companies have now, majority of them have gone in for the cashless claims. They identify the dealers. You can take the car to the notified dealer or just inform the insurance company that your car has met with an accident and it is available for inspection at such and such place. The insurance company will make arrangements for the car being taken to the select dealers, and then the repairs will be effected. Or you can take it to the dealer that has been so specified, and then you don't have to do anything but sign the claim form. And if it is not a zero depreciation policy, you will have to pay for, you have got the new parts. So you have to pay for the difference between the depreciated value of the parts and the value of the new part. That, new for old, that difference will have to be borne by you. So this is how it will be done. Now, let me introduce to you the contract of guarantee. Or before I do that, let's also talk of one more thing, and that is the rights of the indemnified. That is the rights of the promisee. So indemnified has the following 2 rights. He has a right to claim all the damages that he has paid. And secondly, he can also recover costs of all the suits or amount paid under any kind of compromise which he might have to enter into. So let me introduce to you the contract of guarantee and the difference between a contract of guarantee and indemnity. And the balance we shall take up in the next lecture. Now, a contract of guarantee as against contract of indemnity is a contract whereby a person contracts to perform the promise or discharge the liability of a third person in case of his default. To be underlined, in case of his default. So liability of the promisor will arise only and only if a third person whose performance has been assured or guaranteed makes a default. The person who gives the guarantee is called the surety. The person for whom the guarantee is given is called the principal debtor, and the person to whom the guarantee is given is called the creditor. So this definition of guarantee is contained in section 126 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. So while trying to understand the distinction between the two, let us be clear that in case of guarantee, the liability of the surety, the promisor, arises only in the event of the principal debtor, the borrower, making a default. So thus the liability of the surety is a secondary liability. Primary liability is that of the principal borrower, the principal debtor. But in case of indemnity, the liability of the indemnifier is a primary liability. It is not a secondary liability. Let us try to understand the distinction between the two with the help of one example. Now, supposing A tells B that if you lend rupees 2 lakh to C, I will see that your money comes back. I will see that your money comes back by the end of, let's say, 1 month. Now, this is a contract of indemnity. At the end of 1 month, if the money is not received by B, then in that case, he can sue against A, the promisor. His liability is a primary liability. Now, who pays the money? Whether B pays the money, whether C pays the money or A pays the money is immaterial. The money must be paid back by the end of the 1 month to B. So this is a case of indemnity. As against this, if supposing the words used were like this, A tells B that if you lend rupees 2 lakh to C, and if he does not pay you by the end of the 1 month, then I will. This becomes a case of guarantee. Because here the liability being assumed by A is a secondary liability, is dependent upon non-performance by C. That means on the date of maturity, B should make a demand upon C. He cannot straight demand from A as in the first case. So that is the difference between a contract of indemnity and contract of guarantee. So in guarantee, only if C refuses to pay or fails to pay, that the money can be demanded from A. But in the first situation, straight B can, if money has not been received by him by the end of the month, can demand the money from A. So I am stopping at this today. There are many things to discuss in contract of guarantee, which we shall take up in the next session. Otherwise, it will become too long video. So thank you very much for being with me. So meet you again. Thanks.